What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Made in Big Bear Altitude Sessions. I'm Johnny Burnham. I'll be your host. Today, I have joining with me Joe Sena, founder and CEO of Spartan. How we doing, Joe?
Great. Thanks for having me, Johnny. Good to be hanging with you.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you here as well. So I've got to participate in some of these Spartan races, man. It is not only a challenge, I mean, it's quite the experience. It's something that you don't really forget. Spartan has always been about doing hard things on purpose. And, what is it about that challenge and discomfort that you believe actually changes people?
I think a lot about it. I've been thinking about it for, you know, 45 plus years. When I was young, my mom in the 70s and 80s was very crunchy. She had gone to India, she had found yoga and meditation and talked a lot about these principles of what the benefits are to challenging yourself, what you gain from making yourself smaller rather than bigger. And I was actually talking to somebody about it this morning. So most of us, 8 billion people on Earth, most of us are chasing, things. We want to be better than we were yesterday. We want to have a nicer car, a girlfriend, boyfriend. We want to run that marathon, whatever that thing is, right? We want that medal. You guys were just talking about medals.
Yep.
And in doing that, we believe that's going to bring us happiness. When we get those things, we're going to be happy. The magic, what my mother was teaching me that she learned from the yogis way back when, and the magic in doing hard things and Spartan is it shrinks you. It takes things away from you. It makes you, hate where you are for that moment. And in doing that, it completely changes your perspective. So when you get back to your bed or your coffee or your internet server, whatever the thing is that you were pissed at yesterday, you're so happy because you're like, I'm not doing burpees. I'm not climbing that hill. I'm not crawling under that barbed wire. I'm not meditating, whatever that thing is. So it shrinks you, and in shrinking you gives you a different perspective. And all of a sudden you have tremendous gratitude towards the things that you weren't satisfied with yesterday. Now, there's one other really important component to this. I had scientists in here today in the office. It's almost always got to happen outside. Yes, you could meditate indoors. Yes, you could do things, but there's something really magical that happens. Sorry, guys, I ate a pecan. I didn't know pecans came with shells, and I went and bit into this pecan. It was like,
Yeah. No,
I'm used to eating pecans without shells. But anyway, the magic, the it's the word I'm looking for, the leverage, the magnifier. Here's the word I'm looking for. The magnifier of what I just described is like times 10 when it's outdoors. Why is that? Well, let's think about the zoo animal versus the wild animal. Let's think about being on your couch versus being outside. Like there's just in the elements, whether it's sunny, rainy, blue skies, doesn't cold, hot. There's something about us animals, our species, that when we're outside, there's a 10x magnifier. So I take you, Johnny, get you off the couch, bring you outside, throw you under barbed wire, make you climb a rope, put you in ice cold water, make you climb the mountain, hand you a 50-pound sandbag. You're hating life.
Oh, yeah.
Miserable. I mean, you feel alive, but you are miserable. And you cross that finish line and your brain releases all this dopamine and there's a community around you and you start thinking, oh my God, what's possible? Like, could I do more? Could I start a business? Could I actually ask that girl out on a date? I really love my life. And so it changes everything. And I did not know any of that really was going to happen when I started. Yes, I knew all the principles my mother talked about. Yes, I did races in it, but I didn't know. I had no idea that 15 million people were going to send me emails and notes that say, my life, you got me through cancer.
Yeah.
You helped me start a business, whatever. So I don't know if I answered the question well, but
No, you did. And it's kind of funny you bring that up. You know, I did the sprint last year. It's kind of like a last minute decision. I was in the middle of a 12-mile bike ride, and I got a phone call, and they're like, "Hey, Spartan's going on today. You know, let's get some content. Come down here and do this thing." So I was like, "All right." So I signed up for the sprint real quick, and I hadn't done a Spartan yet. It's my first one, and you know, I run all the time. I do all these things, but it was a whole different challenge. And there was a point where I have I'm battling with this guy in front of me. I mean, we're going after it. He's the one that's pushing me. He's the only one. When we took off at the start line, he sprinted, and I was like, oh, me and this guy, it's head to head right now. You know, it's on. And I remember I put a pretty good gap in between us. And I was, getting up this hill, and man, energy levels were getting low. I'm getting fatigued. And there came a time, and I mean, it's on my camera. I had my GoPro rolling, and I had an appreciation, like you said, for life and for the challenge and for the ability to get out there and do something like this. It's like, holy cow, it's a random Saturday, and I am putting myself in ice cold water and going under barbed wire and, getting to the top of the hill and then throwing a 50-pound bag on my shoulder. And man, I mean, talk about being able to find recognize the potential and the ability that you have and appreciate it. Spartan does just that, and
Yes, and think about that moment you just described. Like I would imagine you probably had a view, right? When you got up that hill, you probably had a view for a second.
yep,
And I go back to that 10x multiplier. Like you don't get a view on the couch, right? You don't indoors. Like there is really something magical about, and we don't go outside anymore. We spend 95% of our lives indoors. So yes, it's cool. The name is Spartan. There's a cool community. There's yeah, all that's cool. But like a lot of the magic is simply like I got you outside.
yeah, no, and that's key. I mean, like you said, it's easy to kind of get sucked into, you're stuck in the office because you're working a 9 to 5, and you get home and you turn on your favorite TV show, whatever. But those are the experiences that, I mean, realistically, they live with you forever. I mean, I haven't stopped thinking about Spartan, and since I finished the Spartan last year. And you best believe, me and Matt were just talking about it. I might be doing the trifecta this year. I mean, I woke up Sunday morning and I was like, man, I should have signed back up and done the beast today. It's really cool. I wasn't expecting it. Ended up actually, I think, getting fourth out of 490 people last year at my first Spartan. And I was like, I am stoked to get back and do this. And this year I'm going to train. When is Spartan this year?
May 16 and 17. May
Yeah.
God have mercy on you.
Yeah, game on. Now you've competed in more than 50 ultra endurance events and even completed 14 Ironmans in a single year. When things are really getting hard, what actually determines whether someone keeps going or they call it quits?
Great question. Been talking a lot about that this week. I was on the phone with Babson College University yesterday, and I give a talk there, and I was talking to the students who all want to start businesses, and I said, when you take on anything hard in life, starting a business, starting a family, starting a career, running 100 miles, everybody, doesn't matter what you take on, everybody's going to go through the valley of death. What's the valley of death, Joe? The valley of death is that trough. Like when you sign up for something big, when you sign up for a marriage or start a business, you're super excited because you haven't done anything yet. It hasn't required any work. The day you commit to something, it's like fantastic, isn't it? I'm going to go do this thing, but you haven't done anything.
Yep.
You haven't woken up early. You haven't grinded. You haven't run out of money, right? Like you haven't done anything. And as time goes on and you're trying to complete that goal and you're doing all the work, it's not as much fun. It sucks. And in the valley of death, the naysayers show up. People that say, hey, Johnny, your knees are bothering. I told you shouldn't do that thing. That's stupid. You're not an obstacle course athlete. Why are you doing this? Like you're a golfer. You shouldn't be doing this, right? And they've been saying it all along on your journey, but you weren't listening because you were excited. But in the valley of death, like when you were on that hill and you said your energy storage was low, in the valley of death, you're listening because you're looking for a way out. You're questioning yourself. You're disillusioned with this goal. You're like, this business is not working. The customers aren't calling. I don't know about this woman or man, right? Like you're questioning it. The naysayers show up, and most people quit at that point.
Yep.
You know, in a 100-mile run, that's probably mile 70, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And you want to tap out. And your brain is begging you to tap out because your brain, our species, our brains are wired to avoid discomfort. We don't want to die. So our brain is saying, hey, you might not get food. You might not be able to recover from this thing. You might freeze to death outside. So your brain is begging you to stop. And the naysayers are there, and maybe you're pissing blood at mile 70. And so who continues and who quits? Well, the people that continue are the ones with a different mindset, the ones that practice adversity. Maybe they're Eastern European. Maybe they lived in Northern Siberia. And they're like, bring it. I don't really care about piss and blood. I'm just so thankful that I'm out here. And every 10 miles, there's a water station and a banana that I get to eat.
Yeah.
You know, because where I come from, I never had bananas. No one ever gave me water. And so what I preach to the world, and I learned this in doing all those events, is you got to practice adversity. You got to manufacture it in your life. You got to do hard things on a daily basis. Take a cold shower when you don't want to. Go out in the rain when you don't want to. Do 300 burpees when you don't want to, especially when you don't want to, so that in that valley of death, when things really suck and 99% of the world quits, you are able to get through. You are able to say, you know, STFU,
Yeah.
we're getting this thing done.
Yeah. No, I mean that mentality is everything. I mean, you see it a lot in military guys as well, right? I mean, in which a lot of the Spartan you see will be retired military out there getting after it. Um, and it's wild. I think that you know, especially these days, everybody is looking for instant gratification and you know, things to be a little bit easier, you know, hence AI and all that good stuff. Like it takes away the challenges and the stress, and you know, like you said, people get in that position and they freak out, and those are the quitters. It's the ones that really own that and be like, hey, that's a feeling, that's a thought, cool, push forward. You know, that's huge. That's what Spartan's about, in my opinion. You know, and that's what I felt. Now, when you're doing these races, does the environment influence, you know, the mental aspect, the physical aspect? I mean, you said you had how many events going on this year? I'm sure there's a pretty massive difference from, you know, doing something at sea level to doing something up here in Big Bear.
Yeah, I mean, I personally love mountains. I'm
Yeah.
just great. I'm crazy about mountains. Some people are crazy about ocean. Um, some people love the sand dunes out in Abu Dhabi. So there's something really special about traveling to all these different destinations, a place, especially places like Big Bear, because you know we've seen pictures of it growing up, that kind of terrain, but we haven't necessarily like tackled it. I remember the first time I was out in those big mountains, and you know, you look at them and you're like, could I even climb that thing?
Right.
I don't know if I can get up there. Could I carry that weight up? Right? Like so I love the different terrain, and I love traveling. And for those people that haven't, you know, been to Big Bear or Abu Dhabi or Croatia, like you don't even know what you're missing. Like I said to my family this week, we were talking about my in-laws are 80, they're gonna turn 80 years old. And the instinct for a family, for most people, is, hey, we should get together and, you know, do something. And my thing is, most people are going to choose to like sit and do a dinner or sit around and do drinks.
Right.
And I'm like, no, even though they're turning 80, we need to go to Big Bear,
Yeah.
climb mountain, go to a Spartan race, go right like because that's going to be the memories that are with you at the end. You're not gonna remember and say, I wish I watched more Netflix.
Yeah. No. No. I mean, I can tell you, I've watched a series before, and I don't remember, you know, the majority of it the week after. But,
Yeah.
um, yeah, getting out there, like I remember every bit of the sprint last year, every bit. I
Yeah.
mean, And it's funny you brought up the view earlier. I remember writing a paper in college, and it was called The View. And I used to be a big climber, right? And I still climb, but not as much as I did. But I remember there wasn't a medal, right, for every climb you did. The medal was the view. Once you got to the top, you looked around, you soaked it up, you look down, your buddy's down there belaying you, and you're just like, I made it up here. This is the medal. It's the view, and that kept me going. I mean, it was like, I can't wait for the next one. Whether it's 20 feet more over to my right or whatever, it's like, the view is going to be different. Or I can't wait to see that again. Um, Man, it's awesome. It's one of those things that really fuel the fire. People see the medals and the finish line photos, but not what it takes to build one of these events. We actually, what actually goes into executing a Spartan race at a world-class level.
It's a disaster. I mean, imagine, how many people complain about doing a kitchen renovation or a bathroom renovation, right? Imagine doing like 100 of them on the side of a mountain, covering, 13 miles typically in a rainstorm or hurricane or whatever, because every time we show up somewhere in the world, somehow the bad weather travels with us. And our team's got to go out there and move all that heavy equipment all over the mountain, try to be as delicate as possible, and because you don't want to beat up the environment. I mean, it's not who we are or what we stand for. So it's a pretty big job. Takes 7 to 10 days leading into an event. We could break down in about 3 or 4 days. We've got tractor trailers all over the world, and it is bear, a bear of an operation. So I got to commend the folks on the ground because they do the hard work.
Now, does Spartan, do they have volunteers? Is it a volunteer, or do you guys
You
have
got
a higher team?
Yeah, at every event, you've got about 50 folks that are hired, and then another 250 that are volunteer.
Okay, right on. When you're evaluating a destination, when you're picking these spots out to host a Spartan race, what comes into play? What are you looking for?
Well, you definitely want terrain, like you and I said. You don't really care about population density as much. Like you think, oh, do you need to be in New York City? No, you don't. If it's a cool place outside of a dense population, people will travel. So go into those places like Big Bear or Montana or like the desert of Abu Dhabi. Like it's got to be a picturesque, amazing location. Now you get a bonus if you're a Spartan, the company, because if there's a whole bunch of people that maybe ski at Big Bear, but then have an opportunity to come back, right? Like that's very valuable. Killington, Vermont, et cetera. Like any place where people have tasted it in one environment, but then get to come back in a different environment, that's very powerful.
Yep. Yeah, that was my first time running up the mountain last year. I
Yeah.
mean, and it was kind of crazy to see it from that perspective. Um, what does Big Bear bring to the table in a Spartan race that, some other locations might not?
Like I said, I mean, it's the mountains. Anybody that knows me knows I love I'm just crazy about mountains. So I don't know what it is. I don't know what draws me to it, but I don't have any interest in sitting on a beach.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
But if there's mountains and there's trails and I'm all in. So I mean that's the biggest thing. And then if there happens to be, which there is at Big Bear, if there happens to be a cool little town at the base of the mountain, then it's like bonus.
Bonus.
Well,
Yeah.
it's bonus. It's like because you got to give everybody a chance to sit down before and after the big event and climbing those mountains, and that little town feels quaint and cool and hip, and I don't know, you feel like a mountain man or woman, right? Like so, yeah, I love it.
Do you guys see a difference in times when you put an event in elevation over? Yeah.
Of course, yeah, of course. Much more difficult climbing those hills, and then there's a huge narrative throughout our ecosystem globally where it's like, you know, which ones did you do? Did you do Big Bear? Did you do Killington? Did you do Morsey and Fran? Right? Like, because those are the badass ones.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was wild. I mean, like I said, I didn't get to train last year. I mean, I train every day, no, but didn't get to train for this event last year, and I mean, in the first like 10 minutes, man, you're watching people die off. And I realized I was like, it's because I live at elevation. I mean, it's completely different, than running at sea level or I mean, even running below 6,000 feet. You definitely saw wear and tear. And I gotta give kudos. I don't remember the guy's name that I ran with last year, but he was from down the hill and he pushed me to get that fourth place. I mean, he made me work, and I appreciate him for that. And he definitely has some training behind him because running up here and especially going through all the obstacles, um, not an easy feat to take on.
I love
When
it.
Yeah, it was great. Now, how do you design a Spartan event that can challenge elite competitors, chasing podiums while still being achievable and inspiring for first timers and families?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I have this battle with the whole world. Like I said, I had these scientists and psychologists in here today, and everybody I meet, maybe not you, but everybody I meet says, "Oh, you got to make it more inclusive. You got to figure out a way to put out an olive branch and make it easier for people." And it's like, no, not doing it. I don't want
yeah,
it easier. Like
that's
I'm not interested. That takes away from what this is. Doesn't mean as much. Yeah, but it shouldn't be so scary and like, yes, it should.
that's the
Yes,
point.
it should. That's the point. So I don't know. I have no idea the delicate balance there.
Now, what made you? I mean, what made you want to build the Spartan?
The company. Well, again, I grew up around my mom, right? Monks in the living room chanting. She was preaching all these hard things. I competed for a long time, running around the world and just falling in love with it. And I was tired of being a person sitting on a desk typing every day on a computer and staring at a screen. I wanted to do something really special. So I took a stab at it 25 years ago. And for the first 10 years, it was a nightmare. It didn't work. And then it exploded.
Yeah. Was there like, I mean, do you remember a certain time or a competition where you're like, yeah, it'd be really cool to throw, a 10-foot wall up right here and add some barbed wire? I mean,
I
that,
wasn't, I wasn't, funny enough, I can't think of an obstacle I myself designed. I mean, I would say to them, look, I want the barbed wire lower. I want it climbing uphill. I want it, a mile long. Like
yeah,
I would create components of what the obstacle could be. But the obstacles themselves, I got to hand it to our team. Our team, looking back, had just great ideas, and they did it. They executed it.
yeah, that they definitely executed it. I mean, it's unlike any other, you
Yeah.
know, I even did the Tough Mudder last year, and it was different. It was like it wasn't the Spartan. The Spartan's very competitive.
Yeah.
Um, Tough Mudder was kind of more in that. That kind of gets into what you were talking about with your team. It's like, okay, well, you want it to be less scary. Well, the less scary version is the Tough Mudder.
Yeah.
It's like it kind of is. Um, how does a place like Big Bear, clean air, cooler temperatures, access to trails, lake, support a long-term athletic development like this?
Well, I mean, that's the playground for training, right? I mean, you need to go to places like that and just live like that for a while.
Yeah,
It's what we spoke about earlier. Like, I just don't think you can get that indoors or in a gym. You got to go outside, swinging an axe and chopping wood outside in a place like Big Bear versus swinging a hammer in a gym against a rubber tire. It's just completely different,
yeah,
completely different. And no one would understand it unless they do it. Running on a treadmill versus running up a mountain, a Big Bear, it's just completely different.
yeah.
Um, you'd laugh if you know what it is? What's that dog competition where the dogs have to run through the obstacles?
Yeah, I don't remember, but I know
But
you're talking.
you know what I mean? Like, think about the dogs doing that indoors versus the dogs like running outside like wolves. Like,
Yep.
it's just different. So you go to a place like Big Bear and it just it galvanizes you. It makes you more durable.
Yeah. Now, for a first timer that's gonna sign up, first timer Spartan racer, um, what would you recommend in preparation?
I would say check yourself into a prison and No, look, it is as simple. If you can get 30 burpees done in, let's say, 2 minutes or less. If you're getting 30 burpees done in a minute and a half or less, you're world class. Like you're going to be top five in one of our events. But if you can get 30 burpees done in 2 minutes or less, if you can go get a 3 mile run done at any pace, like you'll get through this thing. You're not going to win, but you'll
Yeah.
get through it. You'll get inspired. You probably get a tattoo and a hat and a shirt,
Yep.
and you come back, and all of a sudden you're training, and the shit happens.
Yeah. Um, so what kind of responsibilities come along with hosting large scale events and mountain communities like Big Bear?
Well, one, I got to make sure 8 or 9 thousand people don't die. So I got to deal.
Yeah.
I got to deal with that. And
Yeah.
every year we're going to lose a person just because of the size and scale of the company. If you put 1.5 million people inside of a restaurant, somebody dies.
Right.
The law of big numbers. I got to protect the environment. I got to somehow get them in and out efficiently, and I got to deal with weather. So I mean, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with this thing times 1,300 plus events.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know,
yeah. With the weather side of things, is there a weather other than lightning? I mean, I'm sure being on a mountain, you got to have a lightning hold. Is there any other weather that's just like we got to put the event on hold? Like if it snows, you can still run it, right?
you could. It depends where you are. I've had lots of events have to, you know, hit the hold button or go on pause because of snow, because of hurricanes, tornadoes, bad storms, lightning for sure. So weather follows us, which is great because I want people out in the weather.
Yeah. Yeah. Experience the environment and the harshest conditions. I mean, it
Uh,
just makes it 10 times better. Now you're obviously a competitor yourself. We've talked about that. Do you have any like recovery, you know, how do you recover? Any like recovery
Tips.
yeah, tips that you would say for after a Spartan race? Like say I'm doing the trifecta, right? I started off, however, I did the sprint or I did the beast day one. What would you do the evening after a race to be prepared for the next one?
Drink a gallon of water and take a cold plunge.
Yep. I'm with you on that. With you on that. Big on the cold plunge. Are you do you plunge a good bit?
I do, yeah. Growing up, my mom, like I said, my mom got me at the cold showers when I was a kid. So
Yep.
I just my day doesn't go well if I don't get cold water therapy in the morning.
I'm with you on that. Something about it. I mean, the dopamine release,
Yeah,
the focus that it brings. It's kind of, I mean, it kind of relates right back to this race. I mean, it's putting yourself in a pretty tough environment and situation and persevering through it.
no doubt.
Yep. Um, awesome. What are we looking at this year? Is there any differences in the course? Any changes coming our way?
I did tell the team to go back to Spartan miles. The Spartan miles are not real miles. So a 13 miler might be 15 miles. We don't know. And I do that because again, I want to stretch everybody's brain and what's possible. So expect that you might get more mileage than you paid for.
I love that. Um, is there is so when I did, I finished top 10 last year and I kept getting these emails afterwards. So Spartan has a basically like a championship, right? Like a world. What's that like? How do you,
World champs in Abu Dhabi. There's different distance world champs around the world. We got a world champs in Thailand. We got a world champs in Morzine, France for the ultras. So it just depends where you go. You choose your poison, and the top folks are gonna get qualified to be up there in the front,
yeah.
and we just see may the best man or woman get the job done.
Okay, so you do have to qualify.
Yeah, I mean, we do recognize some folks from prior years that maybe didn't qualify, we're not supposed to, but you know, I can't imagine if Leonidas was in ancient Sparta and he had 287 warriors and he needed 13 more. that he wouldn't let 13 willing people that might go to their pending death not join the party.
That, and I'm with you on that. Now, Spartan, what made you go with Spartan? I mean, like the name.
We had 100 names listed on a piece of paper, and that one just jumped off. I mean, there's nobody in the world anywhere that doesn't want to be a Spartan.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I
Yeah.
mean, you say it,
Yeah.
you know who those guys are, no doubt, and girls.
Yep.
Um, Give me one word to describe Spartan Race and Big Bear.
One word I would say sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in a in a
Yep.
in a fun way, in a positive way.
Yep. What's your favorite obstacle on the course? Like what's one that you look forward to
I
doing?
mean, I love the spear throw because it's a burpee maker.
Man, dude, I remember getting the spear throw and I was like, yeah, I gotta hit this. If I hit this, I don't have to do burpees, you
Yeah.
know. And you're already smoked at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time you get there,
Nobody wants to do burpees, but you got to do them.
yep, yep. And I remember missing the target, and I was like, here we go, buddy. Here we go. Every time. So tougher challenge, altitude, like is it tougher at a higher altitude in a Spartan race? Or
Of course. Of course. Just
you
just just like doing anything at a higher altitude is tougher. Of course.
could you make something just as tough based on, just terrain, right? So like at a lower elevation, I mean, could I amp it up by,
I mean,
hills and like
yeah, like I said, I mean, we had a venue in New York years ago, and I would just make the barbed wire just miserable uphill, miserable,
yeah.
like longer than anywhere else in the world.
How big those Atlas balls that you have to carry? How heavy are those things?
I mean, you got 60 pound, you got 80 pound. They're heavy.
Yeah. I don't got long arms, man. I remember trying to reach around those things. And I was like, what's one thing that the mountain will teach you over the gym?
There's a great saying from Ed Visters about climbing: getting to the top is optional, getting down is mandatory. Right? And you think about that sentence, like
And
you got to have discipline around these mountains. There's there's never a moment in the gym where you look over at a bench press, or a try push down machine or whatever. There's never a moment where you look over those things and you just like drop your shoulders. I don't want to do that, but there are a lot of moments in the mountains where you look up and you're like, I got to climb that thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just not even. There's no. The gym is great versus the couch. It's last on the list versus the mountains. Like, it's just doesn't even. You wouldn't put your dog on a treadmill.
I do actually. I do every once in a while when it's snowing outside. Oh yeah, he gets on that treadmill. It's actually kind of he's been doing that since he was a pup, man. It's hilarious. He just getting a treadmill. But no, I'm with you. We definitely do way more trail runs than we do being on a treadmill. So 2026, do you have any new projects that you're looking forward to?
Lots of projects. We are trying to build the Louis Vuitton of hard shit. So, we got Spartan, we got Tough Mudder, we've got Deca, we've got Trail, we got Highlander. So the idea is, can I migrate somebody like you through the whole system, right? Can I squeeze every ounce of blood out of you in
Yep.
Spartan? Can you go out with 50 friends and do a Tough Mudder, maybe a little more relaxed of a day? Do you go, I'm going to use that bad word. Do you go indoors and do a Deca? Do you go run a trail where the mountains and the terrain are the obstacles? And at the end of the day, all I'm really trying to do is introduce you to amazing community, amazing environments, and getting you to meet yourself. What we're talking about. You meet yourself when you're out there.
Totally. Yeah, it was weird, man. I was literally having a conversation, full on conversation with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. No, man, it's life changing. Like I'm gonna say, I mean, I recommend anybody who has not done a Spartan race to do a Spartan race. I mean, like you said, and your team said, sure, it's scary. It whatever. It's not really that scary. It's challenging. It's hard. Yeah, it is. Are you going to come to a point where you really got to push yourself, maybe to a new limit? Sure. Well,
Right.
what about that is not, appealing? It's yeah, you do it. That's all I gotta say. Do it. Sign up for Spartan. Do the dang thing. Promise you won't regret it. And I guess what does make it scary is the competitive aspect. If you sign up and just want to get it done, then get it done. It doesn't matter really how long it takes you if you're not there as a
No, no, you're competing with yourself, or it's up to you. You throttle up or down to your point on who you want to compete with.
Yep. And like you said, a lot of those, a lot of the obstacles too, it's a team aspect too. I mean, you got to help people over a wall. I mean, I remember sitting there and, seeing an older gentleman having a hard time getting up, and like I helped him up that hill. And then when he got to the top, we sat him down in some shade and I kept going, you know,
Okay.
and that's what it's about. And I think everybody in Spartan is there, um, you know, for those reasons too. They love the community. Now, if actually before I ask that, what's your go-to meal after like in Big Bear? What's your go-to meal after race day?
You know, I love. It's gonna sound really weird, but I love salad. But I love. So going in, I like to eat lighter. So I'm probably more of a salad guy.
Right.
Um, I'm not a big meat eater. I'm not. But every once in a while, I want some meat. I love rice and beans.
Yeah.
Um, I love eggs and avocado. Lately, I haven't had bread in like a long time, like 15 plus years, maybe more. And somebody just introduced me to sourdough bread as a way to get, because I don't do well with gluten, but sourdough bread doesn't bother me at all, which sucks because now I'm eating sourdough bread.
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna do it, sourdoughs. I love sourdough.
Yeah.
If someone has just one weekend up in Big Bear, what do you recommend they don't miss? They got to do it.
Oh, come on. I mean, you got to do the Spartan race.
Amen to that.
You got to
I'm
do the,
with you on that.
yeah, you got to go do the Spartan race. You got to hike the mountains. You got to check out the town. Yeah.
Now outside of resort times, why do you pick spring over like a late fall? I mean, is it let me get back into the environment. Is it, because you're breathing in cold air way harder, especially at elevation, right? Is that on purpose, or is that just, something we're like, hey, we have winter events, so we're gonna do this one here in the spring, summer?
No, I like. I never thought that winter events would work, but they do. Our
Yeah.
team in Slovakia and Eastern Europe put on some winter events. I always thought that maybe you wouldn't have a big bear or a really rugged event like that in the spring because folks needed to get the cobwebs off. But it turns out that no, people want to hit them in the spring. So, there's no, like, the sun never sets on Sparta. Like there's
Yeah.
mountains and flat and desert all times a year. It's whenever the schedules line up. And if it's cold, deal with it. If it's hot, deal with it. Like, sorry,
Yeah.
you know, this is not a movie. This is like the real deal. Get out there and deal with it.
Now, if I was gonna say, all right, I'm gonna give myself 3 to 5 Spartan races this year, what locations would you say you should be at?
Well, if you're in the US, you gotta go with Killington, Vermont. You gotta go with New Jersey. Same thing, mountains. You gotta go with Big Bear. You gotta hit Montana.
Yep. You are a mountain guy. I mean,
Yeah, Austin, Texas is pretty cool. Austin's a pretty cool geography. I would say that, and then if you're going outside the U.S., you gotta hit, like the ones I mentioned before. You gotta hit Morsey in France. You gotta hit Abu Dhabi. You gotta go to Croatia. Is incredible. You gotta go to Thailand. There's so many of them. I mean, it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, right. Now, when did you guys come to Big Bear? When was the first event? Do you remember?
It's got to be 10 years ago. It's got to be a while ago. Yeah.
Really? Was there any year specifically that like stood out to you up here? No.
No, no, nothing jumps out when I think back in all the years, all difficult, all very well attended, all great reviews. Nothing. Yeah.
And do you yourself, do you compete in
Not very well. I go out. I love to walk the course backwards, and the reason is I love to see everybody. I love to see their faces coming at me,
yeah,
and the folks that notice me, I'll say, "Oh my God, I listened to the podcast, or I read the book, or you changed my life." And so I love to hear those stories. Um, that's what I like to do.
yeah. Um, Now what would be so, I'm getting prepared. I want to be first. I want to come in first. Right. And we talked a little bit on the training. When it comes to training or competing at altitude, right? What what would that training? I mean, yes, getting outside. Do you see it helping being up at altitude, spending some time up there? Um, you know,
Get on that mountain, carry some weights, not necessarily in a weight vest, but like carry some weights and just go up and down the mountain.
yeah, yeah. Weighted
Chop some wood if you can, you know. Yeah.
And we also, we talked about the mental aspect of it and getting to that point where, you know, you're down to quit and everything sucks, What what do you think kind of, a tip and what fuels your fire on pushing past those moments?
Well, I didn't understand the biology, but once I understood the biology, it really helped. The biology is you change the structure of your brain when you do hard things and finish hard things. You change your community group when you do hard things and finish hard things. So when you want to quit, you have to remember like this is literally like doing a bicep curl for your brain in the gym. And if you don't finish, you're going to leave a gap that the neurosurgeon can see. And that gap is going to help you quit more things in the future versus a track, which is going to help you finish more hard things in the future. So, it's really easy to tap out, but it's got some, significant consequences.
I'd almost when you get to that low point, this is kind of how I do it. When I get to that low point and I'm just like, that thought comes up. I'm like, shit, just start walking,
Yeah.
like at least get there. I push for like another 3 minutes. Right. And like after that, really like 2, 3 minute mark, you don't even, the thought process doesn't even come back across. You're just like, you're at that, that runner's high or that, that next stage. It's same thing with an ice bath. It's like you see people get an ice bath, and as a trainer, like I've helped a lot of people through getting an ice bath for the first time. And I'm like, look, this first 1 to 2 minutes is really, really gonna suck.
Just make it to the next tree. Just make it
Yep.
to the next tree.
Yep, exactly. Well, sweet Joe, I think it's about time for us to wrap up. I really appreciate you getting on here today, man, taking the time to talk to me. Definitely looking forward to Spartan March 16th, 17th, and or May 16th, 17th. And yeah,
Let me
see,
know. Let me know whatever you need. If you got a bunch of friends who want to come out, I'll get you some entries, whatever you need.
sir, I appreciate that. And yeah, looking forward to it, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.